Our lesson today is comparing and ordering numbers. If I gave you these numbers, could you put those numbers in order? Devin.
2, 3, 5, 7, 10.
Okay. Today we're comparing numbers and ordering them that are larger. Okay, and when they're larger, multiple digit numbers, sometimes they can get confusing. So let's look as an example at unlock the problem here. It says the Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona had, will you guys read this number with me? 651,028. So they had that many visitors on July in 2008. And, with me? 665,188 visitors in July of 2009. So these are a year apart, the amount of visitors. In which year did the park have more visitors during the month of July? So let's go ahead and write down the number. You can do this with me. The numbers for 2008 is going to go right here, and the number for 2009 is going to go here. So go ahead and write it in yours. So one way we can figure this out, which number is larger, because we're looking for more, so we're looking for the larger number, is using a place value chart. You can use the place value chart to line up the digits and line up the ones with the ones, the tens with the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s, that way. So I'm going to start with my ones, with my big number. You're not writing right now, just I am. 820,156. That's the first number. That's the 2008, and I'm going to write that here, 08, so I remember. Whoops, hold on. And then I'm going to write this one, 881,566, and that was in 09. So looking at these numbers in the place value chart, we're going to start on the left and see if they have a similar digit or which one's bigger, which one's larger in the hundreds, thousands, 100,000s column. So we're going to compare the 100,000. What is the digit in the 100,000 column on this one, class?
6.
What is it in this one?
6.
So are they equal, greater, or less?
Equal.
Equal. Okay, they're equal to each other. You don't have to write right now. You can catch up later. Then we're going to look at which numbers do you think we're going to look at next, class? Good. The 10,000s, the thousands, the hundreds, the tens, or the ones?
10,000.
10,000s. We just start on this side and keep going over. It's kind of like when we did alphabetical order just a few minutes ago. Right? You always start on the left. If that's the same, you go to the next one. So if I look at the 10,000s in the first number, it's a
5.
and in the second number, it's a
6.
So if I have 5 10,000s and 6 10,000s, is this going to be a greater than, a less than, or an equal? Don't say yet. I want you to think about it. Less than. So sometimes you see these, and one of these is called a greater than and one's called a less than. Does anybody know which is which? Raise your hand if you have a hard time and it's hard to remember which is which. Okay, when I was growing up, I always thought, how can you call one of them greater than and one less than? It depends, right? The way you remember is if you read from left to right, how would you say it? If I was looking at this, I would say this is less than this. If I had put something like this, I would be saying this is greater than this. So it depends on how you're reading it from left to right of what it is. So if I asked you what goes in here, an equal, greater than, or a less than, you're going to tell me it's a less than. Meaning that this, whatever's on this side, is less than this side. So the 5 10,000s is less than 6 10,000s. So this first number that has the 5 is less than this one. Which one was the greater the number then? Who would like to tell me, read it out loud? Which one was the greater number? If I wrote the answer, this is the bigger, the larger number. If I wrote this on my test, would my answer be correct or incorrect?
Correct.
Correct. I want you to take a minute and go back and figure out where you're going to decide if I wrote the correct or incorrect answer. What is the key word? Raise your hand if you know the key word in the question. What is the key word in the question that we've missed? Eva. Year. Is this a year? Is this a year?
No.
No, we're looking for a year. So my answer has to be a year, a date, not a number. And this is where it's really important to be paying attention to what the question is in a problem, because you've got the right idea. You've figured out correctly which one is the larger number, but your answer would be wrong because you're not answering the question that was asked. So if you look at the answer down here that they wrote, since this number is less than this, there were more visitors in July of 2009 than in the year before. So they've given the correct answer because they said there were more in 2009, and that was the answer to the question. We're going to put the numbers 10,408 and 10,433 on a number line. If you're given a number line, it's super easy because you just plug it in. Here's 10,400 and 400, 10,410, so I just have to count over and find 10,408. In order to find 10,433, you need to go find it on the number line. So go ahead and put 10,433. Where would that be?
It's here.
And how did you know it was there?
Because I counted.
From which number?
10,430.
So she counted from 10,430 and she counted over 1, 2, 3. Very good, Vivian. Thank you. Okay, so looking at these numbers now, can you tell which number is greater? Is it this one, 10,408, or 10,433? How many of you think it's this first one? How many of you feel like it's this one? Very good. So you guys understand number lines, that the further to the right it is on the number line, the greater it is. All right, let's look at number 1 at the bottom. So did we decide if this number is less than or greater than this number?
Great. Less than.
It's less than. This one fell, 327 was right here, and this was 341, and that was right here. So this is further right, so it's greater. That's this number, this is this number. Okay. Now, when you compare, if you don't want to spend all the time, I need eyes up here, pencils down for a second. If you don't want to spend a whole lot of time putting it in a place value chart, but you're still struggling with which one is greater, you can line them up on top of each other. So if I was going to take these two numbers, I might say 640, can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. I might take that number and then 631, 328. It's very similar to putting in a place value chart. I can still see that these two are the same. Now I'm comparing the 4 and the 3, and I know that 4 is more, so I know the one that says 640 is greater. Okay? You don't have to create a whole place value chart. You can line up the numbers together. However, make sure that you're lining up the numbers correctly from ones together and tens together and hundreds together. Because if I give you a number, if it's two numbers that are, if this is my number, and then this one is, okay, what if those are my two numbers and you line them up this way? Is that a fair way to line them up? Who can explain to me why I cannot line them up this way? This is the ones in this number. So when I line these two numbers up, I have to line up the ones together and go backwards this way. Okay? Now can I tell which number is greater?
Yes.
The bottom one. Because this one doesn't even have any numbers in the 10,000s place.